This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host Keith Angle on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry, my voice cracked there. Keith Angle, TGI Sports Talks, Sunday stream of consciousness right here on Northeast Streaming Sports. We welcome everybody in that's watching live today on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and wherever else you might find us. You'll also catch us at noon on Roku. We'll have some news about Roku coming up as well. A couple of things about Roku. You can also catch us on all the podcast platforms. If you can only listen via audio, given whatever circumstance, you can do it that way as well. And guys, we got a lot to talk about today. We'll have Jim Biringer in here to talk about the won't die Lightning, some of the officiating in the NHL playoffs. You can catch Jim's stuff on Fullpresshockey.com and also The Last Word on Hockey on Mad Radio, the Mad Radio Network. Also, we'll also get into lots of Major League Baseball talk, a little bit of NFL, maybe Deshaun Watson won't go away, but he's going to be made to go away. And just some news and notes, little news and notes around the NBA if we get to it. And Mark Mancini coming in around 10:25. He wants to talk some draft stuff. He wants to talk Brewers and Cardinals. He wants to talk Aaron Judge, as do I, and we will talk about all of that today as we go forward. And good morning to Alan. You know, I always say I'm going to say your name wrong, so Alan. So I know I skip it a lot. Sorry about that. Rick Sherlock, good morning. Good to have you back in today. And Alan, 2 walk-offs, a no-hitter. Good day for baseball yesterday. Yeah. Listen, baseball season's heating up. We're going to talk about the Yankees and whether they have an Astros problem in the Major League Baseball section. Hopefully, our baseball people would be with us. That'll be around 9:30. We'll get into that and some other news. When we get into the football, in case I forget, I certainly want to say again, rest in peace to a couple of NFLers, former NFL bigger-than-life personality Tony Siragusa passed away unexpectedly this week at 55 years old. Very sad. Our heart goes out to his family, our thoughts and prayers. And also, he played with the Ravens, by the way, and the Colts. And also Jalen Ferguson, linebacker for the Ravens, passed away this past week as well. So, again, our condolences go out to both their families. And maybe we'll touch on that again in the football section. Good. Just a quick piece of news, and I don't have a banner for it, but 2 things. So first of all, don't forget the Dream Ride experience, which Northeast Streaming Sports is a huge sponsor of this year. Will take place the 26th, 27th, to 28th of August. Their fundraising event of the Hometown Foundation. They've raised $3 million last year and $18 million overall so far. Great cause. Guys, check out the website. If you can't make it down there, certainly, think about donating. It's a great cause. And also the Wish Fest Music Festival in Amsterdam, which is coming up in July, the first weekend in July, or second weekend in July, sponsored by St. Mary's Hospital. They are also a great cause to donate money if you're here locally. And you get to the website there as well, which I'll share in a little bit. It'll be on the Northeast Streaming Sports site as well. You got a delay and a blur today? You mean, we'll talk about that as we get closer to the NFL season, Alan, I promise. You got a delay and a blur. How about you, Rick? How's your connection today? I look fine on my end. Sometimes you can't tell, so maybe it's Alan's connection. But Rick, if you can give me a little bit of feedback, that'd be awesome. I'm not sure. I've had a little bit of internet difficulties here now and again, and who knows, maybe that's the problem. But Rick, give me a little thumbs up. Rick's got me perfect. Okay. Alan, might want to check your connection. Good to know. I'm sorry you got a problem. Also, another piece of news, we're going to start a new venture on Northeast Streaming Sports, a Roku exclusive Monday through Friday. Mac McGrath and I will be doing a show at 6 a.m. 6 a.m. to, well, theoretically 7, but more likely 50 minutes, called Start It Up. And we're going to be talking just about the big stories of the day, or the night before, or whatever it might be, with a focus on the sports that are in season, the topics that are hot, and just another way to get some information here on Northeast Streaming Sports. And that, again, as a reminder, will be a Roku exclusive. So if you don't have those Roku, devices installed, please do so. Get that Northeast Streaming Sports app downloaded, and this is a show that you would have to watch that way. It'll be a lot of fun. It's going to be a fun way for me to start my day before I have to, work for real. And Mark Mancini, the face made for radio. We're going to have to make that his tagline now, Rick. I'm not sure he'll like it, but that's okay. Oh, God. So we'll have Jim Biringer coming in for a few minutes, to talk the finals with the Lightning and the Avs. The Avs, as we know, got off to a big 2-0 lead. And we know these, again, one of the truer cliches in my mind, two of them. The champs are the champs until you beat them. And also, that's another good one. And also, these series don't start until the home team loses a game. The Avs won a must-win in Game 3 at home. Then they lost Game 4 at home. So they had their backs to the wall in an elimination game in Colorado, and they forced a Game 6, which I believe is tonight. So we'll talk about all of that and some controversy with the Avs overtime win in Game 4. And also the officiating overall, what Jim's thoughts are on that. You know what my feeling about officiating is. And maybe in hockey, it doesn't hold up as well. But I always say don't put yourself in a position to get beat by the officials. In a game that is often as close as hockey, it may not hold up as well. Hopefully we can do an Army game. Listen, Kenny did message me yesterday that he's got a line on, because we want to play golf. Kenny's got a line on what's supposedly a tremendous golf course down there. And unfortunately, I think he'd only have 2 passes. Doesn't mean we couldn't get 2 other people and figure that out if we have some golfers that'll join us. But I am looking into tickets. So I guess we got to kind of get an idea how many tickets I want to be looking for. So Rick wants to go. Carlos, if you want a commitment to drive up, given the date, I'll find out the date. I'll let you know. I'm going to see what I can do about tickets. Billy Pulver maybe would want to join us. Don't know. Wives would be welcome because I probably can't go without bringing my wife to the football game. Doesn't mean you have to. My wife loves football. Anyway, so that's just a little side note there. I'd like to get to the Texas San Antonio game as the game I'd like to get to. I think it's in September. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but I think it's in September. Maybe we'll talk about it more on Wednesday night. And don't forget Wednesday night, the college football. That's another piece of news I'll get to before we talk. We get Jim Biringer here in just a few minutes. And it's related to Roku. So the college football huddle, which airs live on Facebook, YouTube and all those, we replay it at noontime on Roku. It'll also play now Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 12:30 to 2 in the afternoon, at least until the season starts. That won't be really a good time slot for follow-up shows. Mac is doing a lot of work trying to fill in the schedule on Roku so that there's more content, for 12 hours a day, at least, if not more. So it'll be, some of these shows you can't reach. You got a connection? Well, let me know what we're looking at, because I got one I'm still trying to catch. No kids involved. No kids. I'm a cranky old man. Plus, it gets expensive, Carlos. We'll have to figure it out, though, because Kenny and I have to figure out golf, which means I'll probably got to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and get there and play golf before the football game. All right, good. Well, we'll talk about that for sure, Rick. In fact, we'll get into the planning stages with July just around the corner. We'll get a head count, and Carlos, if you got a connection, I'll work on my connection. I'm not sure how many tickets I can get through him. He might only have 4 tickets, so I don't want to split us all up if we don't have to, obviously. We'll see what we can do. Alan will go if we can fly him from Oklahoma. Listen, I can barely afford to drive my car to the gas station, for crying out loud. Just kidding. Alan, I wish we could get you out here. When Oklahoma plays Army in the Orange Bowl this year, I'm just kidding. I'll get together in Miami. You need to know quick. How many tickets are you talking about, Carlos? Just so that we can start to get an idea. We'll talk about it here in the next week or so. What else before we wait for Jim? Anything else we want to throw out as an aside? I'm going to jump into, fuck it. I don't want to get into the whole Deshaun Watson thing again. We probably will for a little bit later. But Daniel Snyder is, in hot water again. And we had a debate about this. And I'm not going to go too far because Jim will join us here in just a minute. If Daniel Snyder is guilty of things as heinous as Deshaun Watson, he should be treated exactly the same. So now the new allegations that come out against Daniel Snyder, we will see what happens. It's interesting that Roger Goodell says he has no power to remove Daniel Snyder, which he probably does not. He has this ability to suspend players and things like that, but I don't think he can just unilaterally take a team away from somebody. Now, the owners could vote to do that. So I think that would be interesting. I may still get to see Oklahoma play this year. Not sure what game yet. Well, that'll be interesting and fun, I'm sure. Group tickets, I'm not sure. What we're talking. Oh, yeah, you're talking about sitting together. Yes, I don't want to be spread out. That's why I'd like to find one source if we're going to have that many people going, for sure. Even if we have to go buy them on, and I'll buy them if we have to buy them on StubHub or whatever. We'll certainly do that. It'll be a lot of fun. Listen, if you haven't been Army, as we talked about, get there, man. What an experience. I mean, are there better football programs in the country? Yeah, but are there ones you should root for harder? Nope. And is there a better game day experience than what happens at West Point? There is not. And Rick, I know, can speak to that. Carlos, I think, has been up there. What do we got here? I don't know. Be careful what you wish for there, Rick. Goodell has made it a democratic process. That's in the bylaws. As far as removing an owner, agreed. Likewise. You be careful what you're wishing for too. Got a little note here from Jim Biringer. So he's running a little bit late, so we'll talk about a few things. And how about some? Let's talk a little bit about. Let's get the NBA out of the way. What do you say? So we'll talk about the NBA quick before we jump into. Because I don't have much to say about the NBA. We always skip it. We had the draft the other night. Knicks are all in now on Jalen Brunson because they traded they did make a second round pick, but they made about 4 trades in the first round. I have no idea the picks they have coming back. This is a huge gamble by the Knicks. I would like to have seen them trade up for Ivy. They did not do that, or I'm not even sure they made that much of an attempt. But at the end of the day, they traded the pick. And I would have been happy when I first saw that they traded the pick, and the pick that they looked like they may be getting was but Jalen Williams from Santa Clara, who I like a lot, went with a pick at the 12th pick where the Knicks had traded to. And then it turns out they weren't getting that pick either. I don't know what they're getting. If they don't get Brunson, this is a total waste. Leon Rose finally spoke out. The other day, and he pretty much said the eggs are all in one basket here. It's Brunson or Brunson or bust. Oh, what do we got here? Listen, Garcia's been a star in waiting. We'll talk more about that in the baseball segment if you want, for sure. Boomsday at UTK, new opening. I'm not following. I'm not following that. If I'm Brunson, I go to the Nets or Miami. Why would you go to the Nets? Nets are a bigger dumpster fire than the Knicks in my mind. The Knicks will have a better record. You mark my word. The Knicks will have a better record than the Nets this year. The Nets are done. The Nets should have blown it up when they didn't win last year. As soon as Kevin Durant's toe was called on the line and it was a 2-pointer, not a 3-pointer, and they didn't beat Milwaukee in the conference finals, they should have blown it up. They waited too long, and now they got a bunch of broken down parts. They had to trade Harden for a guy who didn't play a minute and may never play a minute for the Nets in Simmons. They got Kyrie, who they don't want to extend. They want to get out of town, and they'll never find a partner for him at fair value. And then if he goes, Durant's going to want out of town. So the Nets are in bad shape. So let's not kid ourselves. The Nets are probably worse off than the Knicks in my mind. Kyrie, when Kyrie leaves, listen, again, good morning, Anthony. Good to have you here. I don't want to hear Anthony to the Knicks talk either, please. We do not need that head case coming across town. If that happens, I'm going to convince him that the world is actually flat and it ends somewhere between Barclays and MSG. And if he comes here, he'll likely drive off the end of the earth, and that'll be the end of it. Oh, NBA champion first. Not sure. Okay, gave them three conditional picks. We don't know when they are. They don't know what they are. They also got a conditional pick from the Pit. Well, I don't know if it's a conditional pick. They also got a first-round pick from the Pistons, which probably won't be any good because the Pistons had the best draft of anybody in my mind. They came away with a great guard to go along with Cade Cunningham, who they already had in Ivy, and they come away with a center who's escaping my mind now. Jalen, somebody will prompt me. Kevin Durant is a player to play. He is. Listen, I'm not saying, but Kevin Durant, they're not going to get anybody now to come there. Who are they going to get? Brunson and Durant aren't getting it done. They're not winning the East, or even certainly not winning a title, or even the East. He's not going there. I don't think. I don't. Washington. I think Washington's all in on winning this year. By the way, I think they took the Big Ten Player of the Year out of Wisconsin with their first pick to put with Beal. I do not think they're going to try anything here. Well, you got to get Simmons on the field or on the court here, Carlos. The guy, I don't know what he wants. I think he wants to play in California. I don't know what he's looking for. Was he hurt? I don't know. I'm not, and I don't think the Nets are convinced that he was even hurt last year. How do you feel the Knicks giving away the best center in the draft for a future draft pick? Listen, I never thought the Knicks were going after a center. And I got to tell you, when I heard they picked a kid from France, I almost threw myself through the plate glass window leading out to the back deck because we don't have a good track record here. And if you're talking about the kid that went to Detroit, then, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the kid's name now. Hold on. Let me pull it up here. Anthony, if you've got it on top of your head there, get rid of it because it's probably lethal. Oh, what's this kid's name? Damn it. Somebody help me out. Can't find it. Jalen something or other. I know somebody's going to put it up here. Sam Presti basically pulled out yet another magic trick and got 3 first-round players. Well, then it's time to start winning games, right? It's time to start winning playoff series for Oklahoma. Kenny, don't get nervous. We're getting the NBA talk out of the way as I know you're not a big NBA fan. We're getting the NBA talk out of the way before Jim Biringer arrives, and then we'll be going full bore into hockey and the Major League Baseball. So we're just getting a little bit of draft stuff out of the way. Just be careful what I say. What am I saying now? Jeez. Who would I offend now? Oh, Carlos, give me some context. Did I offend Simmons by saying he won't want to play? Did I offend Kyrie by telling that the earth ends between Barclays and Madison Square Garden, drive off the end of the earth? I hate to offend all the flat earthers out there. That would be really, really sad, because I do my best trying not to offend people. Actually, I don't try at all. Anthony, good call. Listen, Anthony, don't go away with that comment. Jalen Williams was a great pick. And again, they could have picked him. And that would have been a good pick for them, Alan. And I see Jim Beringer's come in, so we're going to move in here. I did see the Mauler. I can't think of his name right off the top of my head, but the Albany Metro Mauler in the Empire Football League here years ago. We're talking, God, Rick, 50 years ago, 45 years ago. Anyway, fishing, and yes, Anthony, we are getting to the NHL series right now as Jim Biringer has arrived. As I finish up this, that's very funny because Rick's got us perfect, Drew. It's Alan had said the same thing. But Rick's got a perfect connection. Anthony and let's see, Anthony and Kenny, why don't you speak up too? And Carlos, let me know what your connection's seeing, because I do want to know this stuff as I try to work through the problems here, if there is one. I'm not seeing any delay, so let's see. Anyway, we'll bring in Jim Biringer from The Last Word on Hockey on Mad Radio Network, the Mad Radio Network, and also Fullpresshockey.com. Good morning, Jim. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing good. How are you?
You got a brand new hat on today, or at least one we haven't seen before.
Rick has seen this. This one's the one that lights up, but I'm not lighting it up.
The light up hat.
That's the light up hat. So
you've had that one on the Last Word on Hockey show, I guess. So.
Yeah, exactly. That one's not going to get lit up tonight.
So we got some problems apparently. A couple people are getting some delays and blurriness on Facebook. It's got to be a Facebook issue, maybe on their end. Rick's got us perfect, and I got 2 people don't. Amanda,
that's it.
Amanda,
yeah, that's right.
All that matters. And Amanda, tell us how your connection is. I know you see Jim here, so you probably just see stars and all good stuff. But give us an idea how your connection is. Kenny says I'm familiar with that. Yeah, I don't know that I can take your word on that, Kenny, because it's already 9 a.m. and we know what you've been doing. So,
yeah, exactly.
Jim. The Lightning were dead, but they don't go away. The Lightning, they fall down, as we talked about last week. They're down 2-0, bad loss in game 2, come up with a big win. And they get kind of screwed, I thought, in game 4. We'll talk a little bit about that, but come back with their backs to the wall again. Obviously the champs don't go away easy. We knew that they wouldn't. They got a great chance to win the series now after being down 2-0. They got to go back to Colorado and win if they get past game 6, obviously. What are your thoughts on this series? And talk to me about the officiating a little bit as well.
Look, I've thought this has been a great series. One of the best Stanley Cup finals I've seen in a long time. Obviously, you can see it with the ratings. People are watching hockey. It's a shame that, it was a Friday night game, but whatever, there was no game on a Saturday night, but we got a Sunday night hockey game with nothing else on. So that's even better. Everybody's focused in on the Stanley Cup playoffs. And to be honest, that's what a lot of people have been talking about. It's just been a Stanley Cup, even with the NBA going on, even with the draft. People are still talking about the final because it's so good. Tampa, Colorado, 2 of the best teams. The champs just don't want to go away. you have to wonder if that was their best game of the series, that maybe they just let it all loose in Denver. But, John Cooper said it best. He's like, and somebody also said this. He's like, yeah, that the altitude, when you're there for a while, it affects you. It seems like teams play better when it's just in and out in there. And I think Tampa, the thing is, though, for Tampa is they just cannot continue to hang on games because Colorado is faster. Colorado has more speed and more skill. And they're clearly, the better team, as the game goes on. Tampa's just hanging on. Guys are blocking shots. Stamkos, Chernak, like all these guys for Tampa have all these injuries that we don't know about. Kucherov, like all these guys, and they continue to find a way. But Vasilevsky's locked in. And if he's going to play like he did in Game 5 and Game 6 Sunday night in Tampa, Colorado better be wary, because if Tampa wins Game 6, everybody knows what Vasilevsky's record is in closeout games. It's going to be hard to beat him in Game 7 if there is one. I'm hoping for a Game 7. Be kind of cool. That means guaranteed handshake. Somebody's going home. Yep. It would be a shame for Colorado to go down to lose. It's just going to be, again, for me, the biggest key. And you hear it on the broadcast because, people are listening to me and they're listening to this show and they're listening to every other show I'm on. You got to survive the first 10 minutes of the hockey game. And, right. Colorado's going to look to, try to end the series early like they did in Game 5. But if Tampa can continue to control the middle of the ice, beat up on the players that they need to beat up on the other team, they're going to make life difficult. And I think, I said this the other night, I think they found out that you just got to shoot the puck. Like, just shoot the puck and on Darcy Kemper, and you're going to find the goals that are going to go in.
And that was a problem in the first 2 games, right? They just didn't get enough shots off. And part of the problem, when you're down 7-0, you're not going to, you're in trouble anyway. But part of the problem,
but still,
shots.
Yeah, but still, Colorado gave up 17 shots, and in the first game they only had 23 shots, and then they scored on 3 goals. They scored 3 goals on 23 shots, and we're in it, and we're getting badly outplayed, and they lost the overtime game, and they lost another overtime game in Game 4. But when you only shoot the puck 17 times and every shot's from the outside, he's going to stop it, because Colorado's defense is protecting their weakest link, is their goaltending. When Tampa can have if you look at if you go on Evolving Hockey, Natural Stat Trick, a bunch of stuff, and you see where the shots are coming from, a lot of the goals are being scored inside the high danger area in the slot, and that's where he's given up a lot. The Ruda goal was so bad. Even the Palat goal, it went off a pad and in. Those goals have to be stopped. Like, those are kind of goals you have to be stopped.
I think that's what Alan, who admits he's not a huge hockey fan, he does root for the Penguins when he does root. He thought a couple of those goals in Game 5, and I think there might be the 2 that you're talking about. But, you got to have a little luck in any sport. Especially, you look at hockey today, and you need to be really good and have some luck to get a puck in the goal anyway, because the goalie takes up, more than 2/3 of the net, it seems, with all the padding they get to wear today. So,
yeah, it's all about bounces. John Cooper said it in the post game in Game 4. Colorado created their own bounces, created their own luck, and they won the game. And that's what happened. But Tampa, again, they're the champs. And I disagree with Carlos, because I think Colorado is still, if you watch these games and you watch the third period, that Colorado still looks like the fresher team. They keep just coming and coming and coming, and they still had chances to tie the game. And again, the defensive style of playing and blocking shots and doing that consistently, Tampa's played a lot of hockey, and now they've played a lot of hockey in a regular hockey season with 82 games, and you're playing that style. Again, I've said it here, I'll say it other places. Until this team loses 4 games, you can't count the Tampa Bay Lightning out. It's just going to be how much longer can that style of play sustain. But again, when you have Andre Vasilevsky in between the goal, it's going to be tough. Look, the Lightning have won 2 elimination games already this year. Why not run the table? Because that's who they are.
They're out here doing it with grit and determination, that's for sure. And that can take you a long ways when you're the champions, and you don't want to go away. You don't want that to go away. You don't want to take it from you. They're not going to give it away. That's obvious, right? So it's going to be a lot of fun. Listen, we got to touch on Game 4. And I've read a lot of stuff both ways on this controversial. It was nice to see Kadri get the goal in overtime, number one. But there was controversy about whether there's too many men on the ice. Cooper talked about it after the game. He seemed to be near tears after that loss, and maybe it was more than just that call. He was very emotional after that loss. What were your thoughts? And again, officiating, you can't let yourself get beat by officials, right? So it's very interesting. Jim's, I think he saw something shiny on the ceiling. I don't know what happened there.
I did. But no, I mean, look, Cooper did the right thing. He planted the seed. You see it all the time in the NBA when you see like guys like Steve Kerr. I mean, everybody realizes John Cooper was a lawyer beforehand. He planted a seed for Game 5 because we saw it late in the game. Too many men was called. But if you look at the play, I don't want to hear about too many men and this and that. It happens all the time during the game. There were 13 guys on the ice between both teams. Tampa had 7 guys. Colorado had 6. Now, it doesn't help when the official score sheet is not changed. When it's those 6 guys on the ice.
That looks bad, right?
I mean, look, Kadri jumped. McKinnon was still a little bit from the bench. But, again, heads-up play by Darcy Kemper to send it to Lehkonen to send Kadri through the middle. It didn't really affect the defensive play whatsoever because Tampa Bay had both guys in position, and then he just snuck through the D and put the puck upstairs. Look, it was a seed planting in after the game. He didn't want to get into it. He didn't want to take away, but he did take away from the fact that Kadri came back from a broken thumb, scored the game winner goal, and had a chance for Colorado to win the Stanley Cup. But on the next day, going back at the travel day, he's like, look, Colorado created their own breaks. These things, it could go either way, and they were. And exactly, both teams, McKinnon slow going to the bench, yeah, but he was in the neighborhood. Kadri jumped probably early and get in position, but they had control of the puck. The other, in Game 5, he didn't have control, and that player that came on touched the puck, and therefore it's too many men. I think, Kadri was already on the ice, therefore he's not going to touch the puck, and and then he gets it, and then the change happens. Look, it happens all the time. I mean, look, Islanders fans could talk about last year in the Eastern Conference Final about Tampa having 7 guys on the rink when when the goal was scored to make it 1-0, and that was the game-winning goal. So, I mean, look, it happens all the time. These changes happen. They have to be better. Colorado got caught on a bad line change the other night in Game 5, which pretty much iced the game for Tampa Bay to kill time off on a power play. So it happens. It happens all game. It just doesn't get called. If it's egregious where the guy that jumps on enters the play and gets the puck and there's going to be a scoring chance, yeah, they're going to call it. But it was a seed. After it got called in Game 5, I knew it was a ploy by Cooper to get the officials to make sure that they were looking at too many men.
It's funny. I kind of agree with it. This happens all the time during the game. And if it's not affecting the play directly, then they shouldn't be calling it. Similar to football, I've seen too many big plays get called back because some guy was just getting off the field slow who had nothing to do with the play. He still got a foot on the field, but how does that affect the play even a little bit? It doesn't. So it's kind of a BS penalty in my mind in a lot of cases. So,
well, I mean, look, I've been saying this the whole playoffs and lately. Tell me, and I was talking with some officials about it. I said every penalty is discretionary by the officials except one. It's puck over the glass, and I hate that penalty. Yeah. Wait a minute. So you can decide whether it's a hook or a trip or a whatever, or a high stick. So most of the high sticks have been called, but the other penalties are discretionary, but except puck over the glass. But if there's pressure, the guy's trying to get it over the glass. You don't take that into account. Look, the too many men. Look, this is the only sport where line changes happen in game. Like player changes happen in game. So this is going to happen. Like it's going to get missed. But you know what? It's not the reason the Tampa Bay Lightning lost Game 4. And it wasn't the reason the Tampa Bay Lightning are down 3. Well, they were down 3-1 and 3-2. It was because Colorado's speed was beating them. And they lost every game. They lost a special teams battle, except for Game 5. They scored a power play goal. They finally scored a power play goal, the second of the series, and they held Colorado to 0. The first time in the series they held Colorado Avalanche to not having a power play goal. That's the difference in this series right now. If Tampa Bay could have scored on the power play in Game 1 or Game 4, they probably won the Stanley Cup in 5 games.
Well, you talked a little bit earlier about, controlling the first 10 minutes of the game is so important for both of these teams. As we go into game 6, which is tonight, I believe, correct?
Yes, tonight. Yep.
What are you looking for tonight? Are we going to go back to Colorado? And I guess give me your predictions for tonight and the rest of the series, because I won't see you again until
after the Stanley Cup champion is crowned. If there's a game 7, it'll be Tuesday night. Look, I think, man, it's so tough to count out Tampa Bay. I mean, I would love to see a game 7. I'm rooting for game 7. I would like to see it. I mean, but it's, I feel like it's Colorado. I think Tampa Bay emptied the tank, but anytime you count this team out, they find a way. I mean, they really do. Pat Maroon said it, game 5, it's like, before game 5 is, hey, if there's any team that can do it, we can do it. We're here to go win this, and, insert bad word, we're here to go win the series. So that's what they're going to do. And he apologized to the media. He was like, sorry, pardon my French for, cursing. But you can't count out this team. I really, if Colorado loses game 6, they're not winning the Stanley Cup. Pretty much. I look at it as that. I think this is it. If you're Colorado, Craig Button, TSN scouting director, said it best. When you're up 3-2 in a series, you play game 6 as like it's your game 7. Because if you go back, anything can happen in a game 7. You don't want that. And if I'm Colorado and I'm up 3-1, I need to close it out now. And if I don't, it's not going to look good.
Agreed.
It's not going to look good. Colorado's going to look to end the series early. And if they can't, well, then there's a lot more questions and answers about this Colorado team, because I think everybody expected this team to dominate, and they have been. But if Tampa's going to play like they did in game 5, where they're going to start controlling the ice more and slowing the game down, it's a bad news. But like I said, to me, Tampa just can't hang on to leads anymore. You can't be up 2-1 going to the third period and try to play defensive style. You got to get pucks deep. You got to forecheck. You got to do all that stuff and get an extra insurance goal, because at Colorado speed, they get faster and faster and faster as the game went on. Yeah. And you saw it in game 4 when they tied it. They just dominated. Yeah, there were stretches where Tampa Bay looked good, but the overtime was all Colorado, and that's how they won the game.
Well, I will say this. I think I like the Lightning tonight, and I do think they're going to go to Colorado and find a way to win. And this will be, to me, the most remarkable of their 3 consecutive Stanley Cup championships, for sure.
Absolutely. Now, I heard a question yesterday, and I agree with this. It's like, because they were talking about dynasties, and Blackhawks did it 3-5, and if Tampa can win 3 in a row, 3-3, I'm like, look, the Blackhawks was great, but they didn't do it 3 years in a row. They did it 3-5. Yeah, they went to Western Conference Final in 2014 and stuff, but they didn't really do anything in 2012. And the 2 years after they won the first cup. So it really didn't do anything. Tampa played, if they win the Stanley Cup for the 3rd consecutive year, they would have done it 3 different ways, with the bubble, playing a shortened season, playing a full season. Like, it would be remarkable to see that. Colorado definitely is hungry. They want it, but the champs are never knocked out until somebody beats them, and you can't discount what this team has done. Yeah, they're playing with a lot of injuries. We're going to find out Wednesday morning, Thursday, the length of injuries for this Tampa Bay team, and Colorado too. We know guys are banged up. Burkowski, with the hand still. We'll see if he makes the trip to Denver. Who knows if he's going to play. He'll probably play if there's a game 7, no doubt. But the fact that, like, points, look, I think I said it after it going into game 3 or 4, I think, when Point wasn't listed at playing. I think unless you get to 7, I don't even know if he plays in game 7. I think he's done for the rest of the series. I think Tampa knows how to win without him. So I don't know if we're going to see Braden Point the rest of the series. Again, it's not hasn't been confirmed or anything. It was just a guess of mine, but considering things have been trending in that direction. But yeah, I mean, tonight's going to be, I think it's going to be another game like we saw in game 4 and 5.
This is an interesting question from Alan. And I know it's hard to compare baseball and hockey, I guess, but would you consider this series to be the equivalent of the Cubs and Guardians in 2016 if it goes to Game 7? It's a little different situation, I think, because we don't have a team looking at three-peat, but I guess it's an interesting comparison. You see anything,
No, I mean, not really, because it's only like a team blowing a 3-1 series lead if that happens. And also, if this was the Maple Leafs, then I would see the equivalent because they haven't won since '67. But Colorado hasn't won since 2001. At least they won a championship. It's not like hasn't been 100 years since either. Like Tampa's got a Stanley Cup in their history. Colorado franchise has Stanley Cups in their history. But yeah, blowing the 3-1 lead is not good in a Stanley Cup final. It's you don't want to do it. I've seen teams been up in a Stanley Cup up 3-1, and usually the series is over in 6 because they lose Game 5 or something. The Devils, that happened to them in 2000 when they were up 3-1. They had a chance to go home, ice it, losing triple overtime. Then they needed a double overtime game against Dallas in Game 6 to win the Cup. So, you can see it happening, but most of the time the team that's up in the series finds a way to close it out. But again, it's Tampa Bay Lightning. Can't count them out until somebody beats them.
Well, we're definitely going to have you back next week to talk about that and more stuff. I know you just had a new article go up, and we're not going to give away. We want people to go read it. Jim's got a great new article up about some NHL rumors with the Caps and Leafs and Rangers. Make sure you check that out. And once you've done that, we can kind of talk about that next week, along with some other news. And we got a comment here that I want to put up, and just so I can. Oops, lost my comments. Just so I can address it. And Jim will be here certainly next week. And Jim, Rick's saying, don't be a stranger, which we won't let Jim be a stranger, just so you know. We do appreciate his overall knowledge of sports, and he's a regular contributor and will be, I hope, this year on our college football huddle on
Absolutely.
Wednesday.
Absolutely. Once college football season is back, the ringmaster will be there.
And I'll talk to Jim, too, and if we can find a good fit to come in for 15 minutes or so on a Sunday morning, we'll do that, too. Maybe once the NFL gets here or something, we'll do something with that. But Jim's not going to be a stranger, I guarantee you guys. Don't worry about it. He's an important part of my show, so I appreciate your efforts, mostly on hockey, because it certainly gives us a breadth of knowledge that a lot of us don't have. We have more limited knowledge than you obviously do, but all of your contributions are certainly.
Anybody out there listening, all the boys, anybody, just let the big stations know where you hear it first, because they copy my material. Just let them know. Just let them know. Just let them know.
I've been pushing to get Jim on the fan forever, and I can't seem to make it happen. So. All they want to do is talk about gambling now anyway. So it seems.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that, because I've seen a lot of guys, like the older, guys that covered the game for a long time. You watch it Sportsnet, you see it everywhere. All they talk about, you see the odds are up all the time.
Yeah.
What's my college team? I got to throw it up to you, baby.
Yeah, I knew that. I thought I'd let you say it, though.
It's the U, baby, all day.
The U is a little covered up this morning, but it's there.
It's there. But it's it's crazy to think that, like, you see on Sportsnet, like Sports Interaction guys I write for, it's good to see that, but it's changed so much now because you've never had those in-game odds. And one of the things I've said is, yeah, they're in, but they're not all in, because they're still with the injuries, with the, who's starting the goaltender. All these coaches still play coy about, oh, well, I don't know who my guy is. Oh, this guy's a game. It's like, just say it. Like, it doesn't matter anymore. So
that's a topic we could spend a whole show on.
Absolutely. Oh, by the way, before we get out of here, Carlos's favorite guy, Barry Trotz, told the Winnipeg Jets that he's not interested in a head coaching job. He wants to take some family time. He's not done with coaching yet. He did say that, but he's not going to take the Jets job.
Well, Carlos will be happy for at least a year that Barry Trotz will not be haunting him in his.
He didn't say a year. He just said he's not going to coach right now. Well, that doesn't mean he's not going to coach.
Yeah. Well, maybe at least a year. He could also come back during the season. Who the heck knows, right? So
right, and also I like the hire down in Florida, Paul Maurice, for the Florida Panther job. I think he's going to put that team over the hump in regards to what they did. Andrew Burnett got out-coached by John Cooper in the playoffs, and I think that was a big reason why he got let go. He's just not Bill Zio's guy. You know that with the general managers. If they don't have their guys. And he was an assistant, and I think he's not, even though he was offered another prominent job within the organization, I don't think he's going to stay. I think what he neans to do is take like Dallas Aikens route and all those guys and go back to the A, learn learn to coach a little bit, and then you'll be ready for your next head coaching gig. Because he was just underwhelmed. I mean, you and I could have taken that Florida Panthers team to the playoffs, and everybody's like, "Oh, well, they won a playoff series." I'm like, "Yeah, he was still out coached by Washington, because if the Capitals could have closed out games, Florida would have been home in the first round."
Right, good call. And we'll talk more about all the coaching changes too, and that we'll probably have you on the next couple weeks just to finish up the season. And
absolutely,
we got to talk about the awards and all that stuff. So we'll wrap that all up before Jim's done for the year. Jim,
Austin Matthews, the best player in the world, best American-born player ever.
Just got to win a playoff series up there in Toronto, though, right?
Exactly.
All right, Jim, thanks for coming in today. Awesome to have you with us, and we'll talk to you next week, and we will have a champion for the 2022 or 2021-22 season. We'll talk to you then.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Don't forget nightcap recap tonight, Game 6. If you're up, stay tuned.
And make sure you remind me so I share it on TGI Sports Talks, please.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, as always, Keith.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye. The great Jim Biringer from Fullpresshockey.com. Catch out his new article. I just shared it on TGI Sports Talk this morning. Some rumors about the Capitals, Leafs, and Rangers. There's also a couple other things I've shared the last couple of days with his recaps and such. And he's a great contributor here, not just to hockey, as Rick said. His overall breadth of sports knowledge is very good. So, all right, guys, a little bit late because Jim came in a little bit late, but we're going to move on to Major League Baseball. Hopefully the hockey didn't put Drew to sleep there, so he might be still with us because we got a lot to chat about here. I don't know how much I'm going to get to. We'll start with some news and notes. Listen, I'm wondering, and I think I got do I have I thought I had a banner for this, but maybe, yeah, there we go. Let's start with the Yankees and Astros. Listen, the Yankees, I was wrong. The Yankees are having a great season. 52 wins, 722 winning percentage, best record in baseball. Still an 11-game lead over the red-hot Red Sox, by the way. But these last 2 out of 3 games makes you wonder about, do they have an Astros problem? The Yankees lost to the Astros in the World Series. In the playoffs. 2015. 2015 was a 1-game playoff, I believe. 2017, 2019, I believe, were the years, if I remember that right. And they've lost to the Astros much the way they've lost these last couple of nights to Justin Verlander, and yesterday they get no hit by 3 pitchers. The Astros just throw great pitching at them. The Yankees' situational hitting goes to hell. They don't hit home runs. Joey Gallo just missed a home run yesterday to tie the game, but what ifs don't count in baseball. So the Yankees, Achilles heels, that's a thing, if you will, are always show their ugly head against the Astros. So the Yankees need to get it going. And by the way, they can thank Dusty Baker for having 1 win in this series, because I love Dusty. I really do. I want to see Dusty get a World Series win at some point, but not at the Yankees' expense, obviously. So he may never. I guess I got to hope he never gets it, because he's getting up there. But he blows the game in my mind. Friday night. No, what was it? Thursday night. It's because, and again, it's not Dusty's fault, because I guarantee you, Dusty's not just. It's been ingrained in him now, like it's ingrained in every freaking manager in baseball. They don't have any feel for the game. And I'll get to your comments here in a second, I promise, guys. But the Yankees should be down 3-0 in this series, because 6-3 lead late in the game. He just had 2 relievers come in who went 3 and out. And that's it. They can't pitch anymore because their jobs are over. And we're going to roll the dice, because it says we bring in, gosh, I don't have the guy's name he brought in. Do I have that box score up? I had it up earlier. Let me see if I still got that box score up. Yeah. No, that's Crapola. Don't have the guy's name. Doesn't matter. He comes in with a 6-3 lead and proceeds to give up, in a third of an inning, he gets 1 guy out, gives up 4 runs, and the Astros lose the game. indicative of everything that's wrong with the way managers manage games today, because they got a script and we got to stick to it. What's happening on the field that I'm watching with my own eyes doesn't matter. So, Yankee fans, you can thank Dusty Baker for the fact they haven't lost the first 3 games of this series. That irritates me as much as anything. Oh, my God. And guys, listen, as far as the Facebook feed goes, I'm going to get your comments here in a second. I don't know what's going on. I got some guys with really good feeds, some guys with really bad feeds. I just checked my feed while I was talking to Jim, it was fine. So I think it's a Facebook issue, guys. And I've had some issues with Facebook on and off the last few days, so not sure that we can do much about that. So anyway, oh, good point. 5 p.m. I got to jump on. I am jumping on with a quick roundtable with Dan Harris. I forgot to promote that. I will at the end of the show too. We'll jump on with a little roundtable. I know Carlos will be there and some of the other regulars that Dan has on this Sunday roundtable. So we got a 30-minute show that will air. You can catch it on Northeast Streaming Sports, and if I'm able to multitask, I will share it to TGI Sports Talk as well. Carlos, I won't disagree. The Astros have the best bullpen in baseball and a very good starting staff too, by the way. The Astros are the Yankees' kryptonite. They beat the Mets pretty good too. Alan says the Astros are a tricky team to figure out. They can beat the best of the Yankees, and then they play down. Well, there's a lot of teams like that. And I'm not sure when they played LA Angels, whether it was when they were. See, Carlos has got no problem either. I don't know what's going on. It's a Facebook thing. The Astros are kryptonite to many teams. Again, to me, I've always enjoyed the way they play baseball, except what I watched Thursday night. I'm sitting here thinking, thank you, Dusty. And anytime I don't get, the whole thing, I don't want to get into this whole discussion, but it's indicative of the way baseball is played today. And we play, let's see, we got to win. Let's see what we can do to roll the dice and maybe lose it. I mean, it's just not cool. But anyway. But the Astros, again, 15, 17, and 19, they knocked the Yankees out of the playoffs. And if you're going to get to a World Series, there's a very good chance you're going to have to go through the Astros to get there. And these are the things I worry about. As I tell people, yes, I was wrong. The Yankees have played very, very good baseball. But still, and they've got some guys that do have pretty good situational at-bats from time to time. DJ has good at-bats. He's not having a great year. Kiner Falefa, Trevino have had really good situational at-bats at different times. But the rest of them don't, and they're relying on home runs too much still. And if Aaron Judge and Stanton don't hit, the Yankees don't score. And that's a problem. Your pitching can be great. They wasted a great outing out of Cole yesterday. Second time this week, he's taken a no-hitter into the later innings, or past the middle of the game anyway. Great stuff. 8 strikeouts in 7 innings and 3 hits, I think, yesterday. It's just, I just think the Yankees have got to be concerned about this issue. And I think it's something that they need to, again, you can't address it. And please, when I say the Yankees have an Astros issue, and please don't mention, well, they were stealing signs. Bullshit. Excuse my French. Yankees didn't play well enough to win that series, sign stealing or not. God, I'm so tired of that. Yankee fans bringing that crap up and whatever. Oh, there it goes now. I said it and Drew's got a comment up. Notwithstanding, good, thank you. They're a very well-run team, and they do play the game the right way on the field. I don't like the strategy, again, that Dusty pulled, especially the other night, but the French don't say that. You're right. Sure, I don't know exactly the French translation for that. Now, you spent some time in Paris recently, Drew. Maybe you could give me the French translation for BS. Guys, people get on this whole Astro cheating thing like whatever. Like everybody else isn't trying to do it. And, oh boy. Anyway, Yankees. I don't know if you can have a big game when you got 11 game lead, but I think they need to beat the Astros tonight. I think it's important. What else do we want to talk about today? I want to talk about Freddie Freeman returning to Atlanta. Very emotional the other day. You know what? I know a lot of people took umbrage with Freddie Freeman for leaving, including me. I actually took umbrage more with the Braves than I did, as I am with Judge, with the Yankees, and we'll talk about that too a bit later. I'm going to wait to talk about that until Mark Mancini gets here. He wants to have a conversation. I will get my point across with that, with the Judge arbitration and where we're at with that. But the Freddie Freeman thing is very similar to the Judge situation, and they should not have let him go. He was the heart of the team, the face of the team, and they made a mistake. And you see in Freddie Freeman's reaction when he returned to Atlanta this week, he didn't want to go. Maybe he's happy in LA, but he didn't want to go. And the Braves are starting to play better baseball, but there's going to come a point in time where they're going to miss Freddie Freeman's leadership on that team. Unless somebody else steps up to fill that void. So we'll see what happens there. But I thought it was very interesting to watch that happen. And I like that translation. Tried to steal a sign when I was playing women. Everybody tries to steal a sign, don't they? I surrender. Let me get to the obligatory Texas part of this broadcast for Alan. As we look around, look at the Rangers can't seem. Look at Alan. The Rangers have played halfway decent baseball for the last 6 weeks, right? They can't get themselves over 500. They're 10.5 games out of first place. They're probably at a minimum. I can't really tell. What do we got? 6 teams making the playoffs out of each league right now. They're probably 4 games, at least 4 or 5 games out of, maybe 2 out of the playoffs right now. And they're not going to do anything when they get there. Garcia's turned into a great player. They've got some guys that are doing well. Perez, as we've talked about, has pitched really well. Everybody they get from the Yankees has done well. For Gallo, God, what a great trade for Texas. Even though the bar's not set terribly high, I guess if you were, you had a couple of baseballs you could throw around for him, you'd be doing well. So, kudos to Garcia turning into a really good player. Who knows? Might be I would think Perez has got a very good shot at making the All-Star team. Maybe Garcia will too. Big news there. Bryce Harper gets hit on the hand and breaks his thumb yesterday, and his immediate reaction was to be angry and think he was going after the pitcher, but there's no way he was getting thrown at in that situation. I didn't think the Phillies would have a chance to win that division. I did think the Phillies, and they probably still do have a chance to make the playoffs. It's all going to depend on how long he's out. Thumb injuries can linger too, right? Thumb and wrist injuries, worst thing for hitters. So we'll see what happens there. I do think the Braves are still in this race, but I'll tell you what, the Mets have been very resilient. Very resilient. I know a lot of guys have got on them about the teams that they've played. You can only play the teams on your schedule. Everybody's going to play the same teams. But they beat the teams they're supposed to beat, and they're hold their own against the better teams. They got the best record in the National League, guys. Let's not forget that. And they still got a 5-game lead, even with the Braves getting hotter sooner than they did last year. The Braves are now 11 games over 500. I'll bet you they weren't 11 games over 500 until September last year. But the Mets have done a great job of holding their own with their 2 aces out, with rubber bands spitting. I don't know. I'm mixing metaphors here. Spitting rubber bands. Mixing metaphors badly, probably, but they've done a great job of keeping the wheels on here. You get a couple of. I think we're back to the Freeman. Loyalty has its place in sports, but economic decisions and long-term views usually take precedence. I agree, and to me, that long. I can turn this around a little bit though, because if we're talking about the teams, the Yankees' long-term vision, if they let Aaron Judge go, is ridiculously stupid. Because the money they will have to pay him. And by the way, if he goes to the open market, which is more than likely now, the Yankees did, throw him a bone to avoid arbitration. I would have given him the $21 million and hoped that got him back to the table. But he's going to hit the open market. He's liable to get $40 million a year because of the, a couple stupid owners. His legacy would be so much better as a lifetime New York Yankee. I don't care, you non-Yankee fans don't understand it. It doesn't matter to me. It'd be a shame. And again, similarly, without, the Braves don't have the type of history the Yankees have, but guys don't play entire careers with teams anymore, especially great players. And it's a shame that type of thing happens. Chet Holmgren was the next Durant, only playing better. How do we get on to basketball again? Kenny doesn't want to talk about basketball, that I can't get him off it. Good player out of Gonzaga for sure. So, sorry, we missed this one. Wow, I missed a couple. DeGrom and Scherzer on their way back. Scherzer was supposed to be back today. That's been delayed. I don't know how long. Drew, you might be able to give us some info there, but I know that right now, as to talk about the Mets and DeGrom, the last I saw that, they're only going to look for him to pitch 10 or 12 games in a regular season and be at full strength, hopefully, for the playoffs, which probably isn't bad strategy. I mean, it would be very hard for the Mets to miss the playoffs, even if they don't win the division. And it's probably not a bad decision on their part, especially if Scherzer can come back and stay healthy. Let's not forget, he's not a young guy either. And once you start having injuries, they tend to pile up. Drew's got the Rangers are simply 3 or 4 years away from bringing worth your unfailing loyalty. No, well, you got to keep. I wouldn't say it's not worth your unfailing loyalty, Alan. That might be a little unfair, Drew, because look, if my team's 3-4 years away, I'm going to be loyal to them unfailingly. Doesn't mean I don't rip them. Some of their pitching has gotten better, though, but their depth is certainly to be debated. And they probably were very short-sighted. To go to your long-term comments, Drew, the Rangers were probably very short-sighted in signing Simeon and Seager to those big contracts, because by the time the Rangers are ready to really contend, those two guys may be on the downside of their careers. So I don't know. We'll see. Preston Garcia, they're not going to get 3 guys on the team. So if Seager makes it, Garcia's not, most likely. Or Perez. The thing with pitchers is we don't know. It all depends on when they pitch. Because you got to be available for them to be able to. They got to be able to pitch in a game, or they don't get chosen anymore. That's just the way it works. They're always there are ways from competing, but hell, even better than that. Yeah, no, look at you got a fun team to watch right now. I think they're very interesting to watch. You should enjoy it. What's your name, Alan? And that team will get around. Better, to be better, promising. They're a promising team. They're just, again, I would not assign those guys to those contracts. Don't the Mets play all professional teams, unlike Texas? Oh my gosh. It's funny. I got Mancini who comes on and bashes LA. I got Kenny who just bashes everything in Texas. We're going to have our own civil war right here. Predict he'll pick up a starter by the trade deadline. And the Mets, yeah. Certainly somebody, we'll talk about the Mets needs right now if you want for a second, Drew, before I move on. I think they certainly need a starting pitcher. They could probably use another arm in the bullpen, maybe a left-handed pitcher in the bullpen. I think it's possible they look for a catcher, but catcher is very difficult. Contreras is going to be available, for instance, but catcher's the hardest position, and they could bring him in just for his bat because he can play some outfield. He can DH. I think he can play. I think he plays first base too, but they don't really need him at first base. But they do need another bat. To me, the Mets need. I mean, again, I don't think you need a lineup of power hitters, but I think they need one more big bat to be able to really be able to help Alonso there. So they could be interested in Contreras, but catcher is hard. If you want to bring him in to catch, pitching staffs are very delicate things, and throwing a new catcher in there in the middle of the season doesn't always work. I remember the Yankees bringing in Pudge Rodriguez, and it didn't work out. So those are, I don't know, and depth, So the Mets are going to be looking for a few people. I had a list we were going to get to, but we went a little long because of Jim being a little late. We're a little late on the hockey, so I probably won't get to it till maybe next week. Some most likely available players and the teams they'd be most likely interested to be or potentially going to. Let me get to some more comments here. What do we got here? Jim Biringer is back. Jim, thanks for the comment. Jim says, Rick Sherlock, thanks for the comments and appreciate the bike comment. Of course, Hubble. Oh, Humble. I thought you said Hubble. No, you are, Jim, you are a wealth of knowledge, whether it's hockey, college football, and to my point I said earlier, we'll get Jim in on this show. We'll find a good fit for him. Maybe it'll be the NFL when we get to the fall, but we'll get 15 good minutes out of Jim Biringer every Sunday, hopefully, or most Sundays. Where are we? If anything, it's been a fun team to watch. Still the Rangers, I agree. Scherzer's doing rehab work now. He was ready. He was supposed to be back today originally, and that got pushed back. And again, I was looking for some information from Drew. I don't know if he actually knows. I don't know if anybody knows. Those Ranger contracts limit their ability to improve in other areas. Agreed. Those were opening new stadium moves. That's a good way to put that, I think, Drew. Cole Calhoun and Brad Miller have been better leaders for this team. Brad Miller's a good bench player. He's a good presence on a team. He's not somebody who's putting you over the top. Cole Calhoun, decent player. I liked their trade for Duggar the other day, but again, this team still needs a lot. And they got Perez for a pack of bubble gum for crying. Listen, that's the kind of guy that every good team finds. Look at Nestor Cortez for the Yankees. Mets and Rangers next weekend. He's all excited. Pudge only worked in Florida. I don't even know how well he did work in Florida, right? Because I think they won a World Series with Pudge behind the plate. I don't know, Drew. I think we'll go for big bat, just hoping the ones that we'll have will be more consistent. Listen, Lindor's been a good bat a bit of late. Escobar's been a waste on both sides of the on offense and defense, in my mind. I don't think he's given the Mets exactly what they thought they were getting in either place. But the problem I still think is they need one more guy. They don't have a guy who's a consistent power hitter outside of Alonso. Lindor's not that guy. Nobody. Nemo's not that guy. I think one more big bat. Somebody they don't. I'm not saying they should give up a fortune, but there's some good bats out there that the Mets could bring in here, and they'd be better at the DH spot than J.D. Davis. Josh Bell, for one. Even Nelson Cruz. Listen, Nelson Cruz isn't having the best year this year, but Nelson Cruz has a way of finding his way onto good teams and being a great addition just chemistry-wise. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go back to Tampa this year the way they're struggling. And I'm not saying the Mets bats aren't good enough. I just think they need one more guy with a who's a threat to put the ball out of the ballpark a little more than what they've got. Yeah, you probably don't want him coming back against. I love Scherzer. I love watching. There's very few guys that, they're stop and watch players, right? And in pitchers aren't that many anymore. I stop and watch Garrett Cole. I stop and watch DeGrom. I stop and watch Scherzer. I stop and watch Verlander. Aren't that many guys I can't. Ohtani's, just a freak. So back to the divisions. Red Sox are hot. Good point. I said this earlier. The Yankees, but they're hot, but still the Yankees have an 11-game lead. If they blow this would be astronomically bad to blow an 11-game lead at this point with as good a team as they have. So the Red Sox have been playing great baseball to get themselves to 10 games over 500 where, it doesn't seem that long ago they were 10 or 12 games under 500. Played great baseball to get to this point, but they're still 11 and a half games back. So they're going to make the playoffs. And again, this is all preamble, right? Because none of it matters. I've said this before. The Yankees have played great. The Yankees could win 118 games or whatever they're on a pace for today. Set a record, and if they lose in the playoffs, it will not matter. Nobody will care that they had a wonderful regular season. Nobody. People don't even remember this 2003, whatever year it was, Seattle Mariners where they won 115 games, the most in history, because they went out in the first round of playoffs. So this is all just leading up to the playoffs. Actually, the Orioles are hot too, Drew. They are 18 and a half games back, but they pulled within 5 games of 500. They've won 4 in a row, 7 out of 10. If I'm an Oriole fan, at least they're fun to watch right now. Problem is they're going to trade some of their guys. Trey Mancini's going to be on the block, and he's a big fan favorite there. So, listen, it's going to be what it is, but it all comes down to winning in the playoffs. Orioles aren't making it. Tampa Bay is going to make it tough on themselves if they don't start hitting the baseball. The Central, as I move there, thank you for taking me there. The Twins, who I picked to win that division, as you know, Drew, have been playing very, very pedestrian baseball for the last month. They still lead the division, but only by a game over the Indians. I'm sorry, the team formerly known as the Indians. Sorry. Call the woke police if you need to, but I can't go to Guardians. The team formerly known as the Indians. But they've lost 3 in a row, and they have played good baseball, though, recently. Terry Francona is a great manager. I wouldn't be surprised to see the White Sox make a managerial move here, to be honest with you. That team is still, again, the injuries, they've got all kinds of excuses, but Tony La Russa was brought in here to do one thing, and that was win a World Series, and he hasn't even won a playoff series in 2 years, and now he's in danger of not even making the playoffs. This team is too good to be 33 and 37. Lost 4 in a row again. The Tigers, one of the most disappointing teams in baseball, and, of course, the Royals. Oh, what do you got here? Mets have to play the Astros. Well, look, the Mets will be fine. We'll get to that in a second. I know what they are. I can't bring myself to do it. I'm sorry. Guardians, Commandos, Commodores, whatever the hell they call the Redskins these days. Kick me off Facebook. I don't care. Ugh. Frustrated. Out west, you got the Astros, as I said, 10-game lead over Allen's Rangers. Nobody's catching the Astros. And probably nobody else from this division makes the playoffs. Maybe, the Mariners are playing a little better baseball. They've won 5 in a row. They could get it together. They're one of the more disappointing teams in baseball this year as well. I I had the Angels making the playoffs, which looked really good in the middle of May and then went to hell. But it is what it is. There's a good morning for Drew. Got any catchers? Listen, I don't even want to talk about fantasy baseball. I've got the worst team in the history of fantasy baseball. And it doesn't matter what I do. It comes up wrong. Missed something from I missed something from this is from Drew. AL West, only team above 500. Yeah. Yeah, but the AL East, it's a much different division, though. You might have 4 teams make the playoffs from the AL East. You're going to have one here. We got that one. If we get to 500, I'll be happy. That's all I want this year. No, you just keep building. Build the right way. You know, it's funny, Drew. Every time I go to the standings, I don't understand how I'm not in last. But who's behind me? Because I don't know what they're doing. I have been horrible. As happy as I was with how I did last year, I am equally depressed and embarrassed with my effort this year. So, oh gosh, National League East we talked about a little bit already. The Mets still with a 5-game lead. Phillies now without Harper for who knows how long. It's probably going to hurt them badly. They played really good, as we talked about, under Robbie Thompson. Come back to earth a little bit. Could still sneak in the playoffs, I suppose. But, you know, I think the Mets and Braves are definitely going to make it from here. Maybe the Phillies will get there. Donnie Baseball keeps the Marlins somehow around, 5 games under 500. And the Nationals are an absolute dumpster fire. What we got here? Fantasy football this year. Maybe we'll do something. I prefer somebody else pick up and start a league. Somebody wants to start a league for TGI Sports Talk and run it. I'd be happy to get involved. And you can use our name, but I just don't have time to do it, guys. I'm overthinking my fantasy moves. I'm either not thinking at all or overthinking. There's no in between, Drew. NL Central, thank you for moving on there. The Brewers have brought the Cardinals back into this race, and the Cardinals have played really good baseball, I think, at the same time the Brewers have started to struggle. Brewers need some more bats. I mean, that's another team that could use, a Josh Bell or some of these guys that'll be available. And we'll dive into some of those guys hopefully next week. Or maybe we'll have a minute here to do it. I don't know. But again, who else are you going to talk about there? Pirates, Cubs, and Reds, all dumpster fires. The Pirates, had played a couple of weeks of good baseball, but they've come back to earth. And the Reds have got all they can do to make sure they didn't set a record for losses. That'll be a plus for them. Out west, another good race shaping up. The Dodgers and Padres have been swapping back first place depending on the day we're talking about. Padres now a game behind the Dodgers, even though they have one more win. They've played less games. They've got 3 less losses, so the Dodgers have the 1-game lead. This race will probably go down to the wire, and the Giants are still right there, too, at 5.5 games out. The Diamondbacks and the Rockies, after pretty strong starts for both of them, have played back to form and have fallen way out of this race, and they'll be looking to sell here in a couple of weeks as well. Dodgers Padres as expected. Giants hanging tough. The Giants have been funny this year. Their pitching hasn't been as good. They traded one of their platoon guys in Duggar to Allen's Rangers. Hang on, I got a text here. Let's see who that's from. See if it's from. Bear with me. Oh, it's Walgreens. I thought it might have been Mark Mancini. It's only Walgreens. Anyway, the Giants, not quite. They're not going to win 107 games, obviously, this year. That was kind of an anomaly last year. They've been very streaky, had some COVID issues, had some injury issues. So they've been very, very kind of streaky. They're only 4-6 in their last 10. They seem to go through these down periods, and then they'll come back and win 8 out of 10. So we'll see what it goes. Tatis will be back for the Padres, which, again, you talk about, we talk about moves at the deadline, right? And the Padres, who will probably make other moves, have a very big move that they don't have to trade anybody for. Tatis, you're adding a guy like Tatis basically at or before the trade deadline, probably before the trade deadline. And, that's like a free move. Yeah, Machado, I don't know what Machado's injury status is, or is, I don't think he's going to be, I think he'll be back in the near term. I haven't looked. It looked a little gory to me, the injury, but then I thought I read it wasn't that bad. So we'll see how that plays out. Yes, if in fact he is not because Manny's played great. Manny Machado, and I'm certainly a guy that's gotten on Manny Machado a lot through the years. He's on the pace to have a great career. He's going to get 3,000 hits. I mean, he's got to continue to produce, obviously, but there's very few guys at his age that have had the numbers that he's got, from as far as being on his way to 300 hits and 500 home runs, and things that historically have been huge milestones. And whether those things continue to be milestones, who knows? This has happened before. Guys that have been injured have won. If you remember in the NBA, Magic Johnson won it after he retired. So when you let the fans vote, they're going to vote for the most popular guy, not the best guy that season, which is supposed to be. Yeah, I know. That would hurt the Padres a lot. And maybe Manny Machado has grown up a bit because he does seem to have a leader type role on that team now, and that's not and I've always said I wouldn't want Manny Machado leading my team, but Manny Machado has really kind of matured a bit. So that's a look around the league there. We got a couple other interesting notes. Mark Appel, who was a number 1 draft pick, I don't know. He's 30 years old now, so probably 2012 or something. He was number 1 draft pick 2 times, I think, with the Pirates, and then he didn't take it. He was one of the most heralded pitchers coming out of college in history. Actually pitched down the road here for the Tri-City Valley Cats when they were part of the Astros organization. He was a number 1 pick overall for the Astros and never made it to the major leagues. He has gotten a call up to the major leagues from the Phillies at the age of 30 for the first time. And he actually was out of baseball for a couple of years. So there's a feel-good story. We always need feel-good stories. So I think that's an interesting one there. We talked about Harper being out. All-star voting we'll get to in the weeks to come. It's a little early to be looking at that. We did talk about a couple of situations. Oh, that's in the NFL. I don't think I'm going to go to the NFL too much today. What else you guys got for baseball? Throw stuff at me here. You want to go Sellers? AL Sellers. Let's start Baltimore. See what I got, Drew. Definitely the Orioles. Probably everybody's for sale except Mullen, who hasn't had as good a year this year, but I think he's still a good building block. You may see the White Sox selling if they don't get it together soon, by the way. Tigers and Royals, I agree there. The Mariners probably will not sell because I think they've gotten themselves back in the race. Now, don't count the Rangers or Seattle out maybe selling for something for the 2023. Walgreens again. Walgreens doesn't want to leave me alone, apparently. The Angels, don't forget the Angels in the AL and the A's, obviously. The A's are an interesting situation. They want to get a new ballpark, and they just don't have a team that's going to compete. I'll go to your National League stuff. I see you got. Well, first of all, I don't know if the Angels ought to be, I'm not sure the White Sox ought to be worrying about the division as much as they ought to be worrying about looking at the wild card race. I mean, This team has shown no reason to think that they can make a run this year, in my mind. So it's possible. And you got till August 3rd. So there's a little, a few extra days to kind of think at that. Now, a team like the White Sox, if they're going to buy, they may buy now. August 3rd is the deadline. But I think you're going to see teams. I think you're going to start seeing trades. You already saw a small one with the Rangers and the Giants the other day, Duggar for Calhoun. There's probably been a couple other ones that I'm not thinking of. I think pretty soon, with the 1st of July here, you're going to see the teams, some teams that want to jump back in the race, want a little spark, making moves before the deadline, which I think happened a little bit last year as well. With more teams involved and more teams in the playoff race, more teams are going. There aren't going to be that many guys, so teams are going to have to overpay for the guys that they want, and they may have to get them sooner, make a move on them sooner than they normally would. Yeah, that's what I said, with the extra playoff teams, which I hate, by the way. National League, Washington's going to sell. Everybody's available there. As I've talked about Josh Bell already. I've talked about Nelson Cruz. Most likely both will go. The only guy who's not going there is Soto. So the Marlins may trade. I think the Marlins are probably going to sell. But who knows? With the change in ownership, we don't know what they're going to do. We don't know, whether Donnie's going to be safe there after the year. This team just is in a quagmire that they can't get out of. You may see the Phillies sell as well, to be honest with you, Drew. Something to think about. Even if they stay, remember something. There are teams that sell, depending on their situation, and still will be looking could be looking at a playoff situation. Yankees did it back in 2000, whatever year the Judge and Sanchez and those guys came up. They sold everybody and brought the kids up, and they played better baseball and actually got into the race. So it doesn't preclude you from being in the race. Let's not forget. As we wait on Mark Mancini, we'll finish up here with my see if I agree with Drew on the rest of these. So those could be Pirates, definitely. Cubs, definitely. You don't have the Cubs in there. Cubs are definitely selling. I mean, Contreras is going to go. The Cubs want to keep him, but they could trade him and then, re-sign him in free agency, if for that matter. The Yankees have done that a couple times with Chapman. So I would think the Cubs will definitely be selling. David Robertson has been mentioned in the Yankees situation. Ian Happ has been mentioned with the Yankees, the Mets, and a bunch of other teams. A really good plus defensive player at a couple of positions. Plus he's got a little bit of pop in his bat. And of course the Diamondbacks and the Rockies, who are just dumpster fire. So let's see what you got here, Drew. We can finish up before Mancini comes in. White Sox won't. Yeah, we got that. Alan doesn't think the Rangers will do anything. Well, Culberson, again, he's a player that could help somebody off the bench. So you're not going to get a lot for him, but I get your point there. Again, Rangers could do something, and they could be buyers if they're looking to get somebody for 2023. They might even look to get out from one of those contracts, to be honest with you, but I'm not sure that they can. Some teams will make trades to adjust and balance their rosters, but not the same thing as being sellers. Agreed. I agree. And new respect for Jim Jeffcoat picking the Vikings over the Fudge Packers. Yes, as I was leaving the Sunday Mac and Jack and Jim show, they started talking about some football after my spot, and Jim did pick the Vikings to win the NFC Central over the Packers. I won't use the rest of Rick's colorful analogy there. Colorful nickname, not an analogy. We can talk a couple other quick things in the NFL. Listen, we won't get into it a lot. maybe we'll pick it up as Mark comes in, Mancini, if he comes in. Deshaun Watson, let me change my banner real quick. Deshaun Watson, his review starts on Tuesday. There are reports everywhere that the NFL is looking for an indefinite suspension. I still stand by my remarks that he will not play another game in the NFL. I certainly have had some debate about this with Carlos about whether it's equal treatment. Well, I said his crimes are much more criminal than Robert Kraft's or even Daniel Snyder's. But now Snyder's been accused of assault, so I will change my stance there. But Deshaun Watson is a despicable human being. I don't care if all of those lawsuits get settled. He did things. Yeah, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this on the phone. I can't do that. I don't know who that is. Despicable stuff. Rumors the NFL wants to indefinitely suspend Watson, right? As I said, and indefinite doesn't mean forever, right? And there's talk that it's 1 or 2 years. It could have been Mancini. I don't. Well, that's because I did not know he was going to try to call in. See if he calls back. Anyway, it could be 1 or 2 years, but I think if he's out for another 1 or 2 years, that'll be 3 years he doesn't play. I don't think he's going to play again in the NFL. I think I did miss something here with Allen. Yeah, that's more baseball. That's fine. Let's stick with basketball or football. Like a year or two, and then reevaluate the situation. Yeah, similar to Pete Rose being suspended indefinitely for the Major League Baseball, right? How's that worked out for him? And it should work out that way. He should not play in this league again. The man, stop. Oh, my God. I don't know how we equate that all crimes are equal. All right? I heard a comment earlier today, putting Daniel Snyder in the same situation, not because of the sexual harassment even that went in the Redskins organization, which wasn't necessarily tied to him, he allowed it to go on. But also the fact that, he wasn't paying all the money he should pay to the NFL. Now that it's a bad crime, but is it the same as sexually assaulting women? No, it's not even close. 20. I could take you guys all on a vacation with the money I have in the Redskins cut jar and now the Indians jar. Thank you for keeping track, Alan. I would apologize if I really felt bad about it, but I try to say team formerly known as Redskins. That's the best I can do. Probably the best I'm ever going to do. I think that might have been Mancini, and I apologize for not picking up his call. What else? Goodell says he doesn't have and we talked about this earlier, he doesn't have the authority to take the team away from Snyder. And I agree, he doesn't. The NFL bylaws don't allow for that. The owners can vote him out, which is likely to happen here at some point. But the commissioner does have the right to suspend players. Wanted to suspend Tom Brady for a year, got 4 games, for letting the air out of a football. Don't let the air out of a football. You can go abuse women. We'll figure out a way to get you back in the league. Yikes. Another situation, and by the way, let me repeat again, now that we're talking about the NFL, I want to express my condolences to the families of Tony Siragusa and Jalen Ferguson, both a current Raven, and Jalen Ferguson, only 26 years old, and Tony Siragusa, a personality bigger than life, who passed away unexpectedly at 55 years old. Big contributor to the Ravens Super Bowl. big contributor to Fox football for quite a number of years. And he'll be missed. And our thoughts and prayers go out to the families of those as we talk about the NFL. Also, on the NFL, Tyreek Hill made some comments recently about, and I'll get to your comments again here in a second, about, and I don't know if he was smoking weed or something before practice or something, but he claimed that Tua was a more accurate quarterback than Mahomes. I don't believe he said he was a better quarterback. I don't think he's more accurate either, by the way. But regardless, it's his opinion. He can say what he wants. He's not going to disparage his brand new starting quarterback and, or at least his brand new teammate, and hurt that relationship. So he's going to say whatever he's going to say. But for him to get death threats from Kansas City fans, come on, guys. What have we turned into in this country that, again, it's very similar. It's not very similar. I don't know. Everybody's offended by everything. And this is the same kind of thing. You're offended. Well, you offended me and Patrick Mahomes, so I'm going to threaten your life, Tyreek Hill. Don't do that. You don't agree with things? Fine. Don't threaten people. Don't go to their homes and cause disruption in their personal lives. Because you can say what you want as long as it's not, inciting a riot. Again, I'm trying to stay away from certain topics, but Jack Del Rio is another great example of being able to say things that you want to say. I don't care if you agree with Jack Del Rio or don't. The NFL shouldn't be suspending him or fining him for saying what he says. If that's what he thinks, he should be able to say it. And I won't talk about it here necessarily what he said. I ran into the same thing a week ago. And I still haven't been blocked, by the way, by this guy, and whatever. You post something you think is funny and they got to make it, well, it was a political statement. I'm sorry. It probably was. But, I don't care if you agree with me or disagree with me. I'm never going to unfriend somebody for disagreeing with me. We don't get along as a society at all anymore, whether it comes to sports or the real world. We have no civility left in us. Very, very sad. Very, very sad. Let me get to some comments here. I just say name redacted. I don't care. I can't. Name redacted's too long. I just say Redskins. It's easier for me. Mac and Jack kept saying that he had never been in trouble before. Are you kidding? I started to type it and I couldn't. I know. I heard Robert. Robert Butler. I love Robert. Robert's got great take on stuff. But to tell me he never was been in trouble before, but now has 26 women accusing him of sexual assault. Oh, but he settles 20 of them. So what? Never been in trouble before. It's a great, great analogy. I was trying to type something, but I was trying to get ready for the show too. And it is ridiculous. I'll bet you it is. Well, he was in trouble before. How many people have we seen in some of the mass shootings around the country who have never been in trouble before? I don't know how that's relevant. My God. Losing guys like Goose and Madden have hurt my childhood. Mm-hmm. I know what you mean there. I think the wording might be bad. Alan, you're not in your childhood anymore, but I know. There are people that you grew up with, I'm sure, and that's what you're trying to say. And I understand. Believe me, when you get to be my age and the age of some of the other loyal listeners, you start to lose your heroes, and it does hurt. I have to tell you, and I was much younger because he's been gone now almost 20 years. Bobby Mercer, who was my guy for the Yankees, my guy. And he was part of, it'll sound weird, but he's part of my life for a long time as a Yankee in the broadcast booth. And it was sad when he died. I was only 42 or 43, but you still feel that, Bobby was in my living room basically every day since I was a kid, either on my radio or on my TV. Oh, that's not what we had there. What's Drew got here? Hold on. What do you got, Drew? Very good point. Let's get on to something more football related than my ranting and raving about nonsense. I know Seattle's had some talks about Mayfield. To me, anybody who trades for Baker Mayfield, there's two parts to this. Anybody who trades for Baker Mayfield is crazy because you would think the Browns have to release him. I can say Browns, right? Just not sure what offends people. You can't be a colonial now, by the way, because we have to change that name. This is why it's a stream of consciousness, because I didn't take my ADD medicine this morning. You would think the Browns have to release him, because regardless what happens with Deshaun Watson, how do you reach back out? Excuse me. How do you reach back out to Baker Mayfield and say, come on back, Baker, all's forgiven. We're sorry about the disparaging things we said about you and bringing in somebody to replace you. And how do you do that? I do not think there's any path back to the Browns for Baker Mayfield. So to me, if I'm a team, whether I'm Seattle or the Panthers or whoever it might be, I'm not doing that. I'm waiting for him to get released, and all I got to pay is all I got to pay him is a minimum, because the Browns are going to pay this big contract that he's got, and I don't have to pay him. I think I got a message here. So anyway, Garoppolo, 49ers say he's ready to start throwing, and the plan is still to have Jimmy and Trey Lance. I mean, I've read reports that the 49ers weren't happy with Trey Lance's progress last year, and maybe this offseason, and Jimmy Garoppolo would be option number A, which is, a recipe to lose in the playoffs again, most likely. Look at that team topped out, in my mind, last year in the NFC Championship game. They made it to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, yes. So maybe that's them topping out. This team is not going to get any better than it is today with Jimmy Garoppolo playing quarterback. He's a good game manager, but I don't know if there's enough talent around him for him to manage games and win a Super Bowl. So Baker Mayfield's still in play around the league. And we have heard Seattle a lot the last few days, as soon as Carolina gets totally counted out, they jump back into the conversation too. So let's not totally put the Panthers out of this either. But again, if I'm one of those teams, I'm waiting for him to get released. Because if they're going to trade him and they can't trade him, they're going to release him. There's no way they can welcome him back. Not in my mind. Drew predicts Julio Jones to the Packers because Rodgers only likes throwing to veterans. That's a good point. I remember when he didn't like throwing to Devontae Adams. Right? Turned into a pretty good player. This is the problem when you let your quarterback have too much power. He complained forever that he didn't have weapons in Green Bay, and the team didn't make the team better and give him enough weapons, where he had some of the best weapons in football in Devontae Adams and his running back, what's his name now? Escaped my memory. But you all know who I'm talking about. And now the team's worse because he went out and got himself $50 million a year and hamstrung the team where they got to move Adams, and Adams wanted out anyway. And they have to go bring in Julio Jones, who's by the way, was a nice player, a great player, but he's not a shell of the player he was. So Aaron Rodgers wants good players around him, wants a chance to win championships, but give me my money. Said this all along. He's one of the most selfish guys in professional football, maybe professional sports. Yeah, but again, Alan, if I wait for him to be released, I don't have to pay anything except the minimum. That's it. That's a whole lot less than half his contract. And it's not like there's a whole line of people waiting to get him. I saw a post yesterday that said the Browns traded 3 first-round picks and paid $230 million and have only Jacoby Brissett to be their starter. You talk about mismanaging. This is like a Nick situation, right? You talk about mismanagement. This team has been totally mismanaged. Reaching out to a suspect person like Deshaun Watson in the first place is just a recipe for disaster, and they brought this upon themselves. I love Jacoby Brissett, but you're not going to win any Super Bowls with Jacoby Brissett as your starter. Good backup. Who's going to take out the garbage and take care of the football stadium? It is the best commercial ever, Rick. I have to give you that. So I'll give you that. Real quick, guys, I got to step out here for just a second. Talk amongst yourselves. I am not going anywhere. I'll be right. All right, but Joan, sorry about that. I just had a small emergency that had to be done. I'm the only one in the house as my wife has left on vacation without me. Back to this. It is one of the great commercials ever. I'm not a huge Baker Mayfield fan, but he comes off really well, I think, in that commercial, and it's a lot of fun, and I do like it. Aaron Jones is the guy I was trying to think of. I knew his name was Jones. What do you got, Drew? Cameron Brate is now the last tight end standing in Tampa Bay. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a move made here this summer to get somebody more experienced in there. I'm not also certain that Gronk's retirement will last. I'm sure that his old body does not want to go through the rigors of training camp. So it's entirely possible we've not seen the last of Gronk. We'll see. Teams that are going to make the Browns eat all the dead cap just to spite them. I agree, Alan. There's no reason to do that. No, that was me, Drew. I took my video away for a second. I had to take a quick step away, and I said, talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back. And I apologize for the downtime. So what else we got, guys? We got a few minutes left. We didn't get Mark Mancini in today. My bad. I think that was probably him that called, and I'll have to apologize to him later, but we'll continue our conversation here. What else? Let's take a quick look around. Let me take a quick look around the world of sports. We can have any topic you want today. We'll stick on the NFL. We'll go back to baseball. Let's see if there's anything I haven't talked about. Snell hits Harper. We talked about the no-hitter. Mariners France gets put on the injured list. I'm back to baseball. Sorry about that. I'll go back to football in a second. Aaron Judge. Let me talk a minute about Aaron Judge. which is not NFL news, so we'll put the banner back up for baseball, I guess. Aaron Judge. Yankees were set to have an arbitration hearing with him Friday. He had been asked for 21. They offered 17. They settled with him for 19. Some incentives that I think can get him to over 20, which again I think is a good place for the Yankees to kind of try to show some good faith. But I did a vlog on this the other day. If I was the Yankees, I might have given them the 21 million, said, look, I'll give you the 21 million there, and let's just talk long term. Or maybe even a little more. But the Yankees are playing a dangerous game here because this game just became, if he hits the open market, he's going to get $40 million. I'm positive. Once the Dodgers, the Giants, the Angels, all the West Coast teams where he's from get involved, it's going to cost $40 million. Now, all things considered, and I said this on the Mac and Jack show this morning, if the years are there, and I pay this guy, by the way, whatever it is, the Yankees should pay it. This team's worth $7 billion. They got one of the richest TV contracts in baseball. Their merchandising revolving around Judges out of this world. They'd recoup the money they pay in 2 years. Kenny Giffords mentioned that in this conversation many times here. Now, hopefully this showing of some good faith, not going to arbitration and arguing that he's not worth the money, which put him in a bad spot. I mean, I don't know that it's going to get him to the table when, he's committed to the fact that he will not negotiate during the season. And once he hits the open market, all bets are off. But he'll make more in New York off the field. So he'd make up any loss that, he were to get going somewhere else. But for the Yankees, what they would lose not signing Aaron Judge, I don't even think we can calculate what it is. What do you got here? Durant got sent down to AAA, one of the Gallo trade players. Thank God somebody's not playing well. Team feels... Alan, I got to get you out of the state of Texas, man. Jack and Carlos are in lockstep against it. Let him be a lot. Carlos and I have had this conversation, and I got on Jack a little bit. He's back on the Yankees. Well, he kind of went both ways. He's putting all the blame for Judge not signing on Judge. And the Yankees, I don't blame Judge for holding out for what he can get. He's worth every penny. And if they don't want to pay him, let him walk. That's fine. And you will not. It'll take you a while to recoup what you will lose public relations wise. And the Yankees, but they released what he turned down just to put him in a bad light with the fans. Now, there are certainly fans who are out there. Nobody's worth that much money. And I get that. I get people thinking that. But I don't agree. It's just the way I think. To me, if somebody's willing to give me the money, well, then I'm worth it. Doesn't matter whether it's $50,000 a year, $150,000 a year, $150 million a year. It doesn't matter. If somebody's willing to pay you the money, then you're worth it. And I understand, it's baseball. They're not teachers, and they're not firemen, and they're not soldiers. And you know what? All those people should get paid more money, I suppose. But there ain't nobody paying to watch them. Again, and I don't mean any disrespect to any of those professions. I really don't. But the comparisons are ridiculous. Compare them more with movie stars. They make more money than ball players when you think about it. George Clooney, if he's making movies, he's getting, $30 million or more for 6 weeks' work. when you're the face of the franchise, and he's also a leader on that team, and he doesn't lead. He's a little like Derek Jeter in the fact that he leads by example. He leads by doing the right things on and off the field, quietly. He gets it. So many guys don't get it. How many guys come through New York and don't get it with less talent in it? I watched Clint Frazier, who is, by the way, has now changed his name to something. I don't even know what the hell it is. He wants to be called something else. How about dumbass? You know, he's a guy who never got it. He doesn't have half the talent Aaron Judge has. And he never got it. Just shut up, you know? Drew's got AL All-Stars so far. Guerrero. Is this your picks, Drew, by the way, or is this the voting so far? I was going to look up the voting so far, and I thought it was a little early yet. Thought next week would be better. Is this the voting or your? I'm going to say this is the voting. All right, let's see who I disagree with here. AL All-Stars, Guerrero, Altuve, Devers, Bichette. Bichette's struggling a little bit. Judge, Trout, Springer, Kirk, Alvarez. You know, I don't know. I'd have to pull this apart. Look at the All-Star game to me. It's a fan vote. Guys who deserve to be there. If fans want to see them, then they should be there. And then you should make up for any issues with the picks that the teams make. Chisholm's winning. I like him. Too bad he's not helping my team at all. I got him in the lineup at the wrong time. You're right. I do overthink it, I guess. True. Acuna hasn't played a lot. You talked about guys who haven't played a lot. Jock Peterson, Wilson Contreras, definitely. These are votes in. Harper is a DH. Probably not going to be able to play, I would think, now. Well, it'll be interesting to see how many of these guys beg out of the game. Here's an interesting point. So, who'll be in the? I mean, we only got a couple minutes left. the home run contest. Are we tired of the home run hitting contest, or is it still viable in your guys' minds? You don't vote on the pitchers. The pitchers are all chosen by the outside of the vote, Alan. Do you think the home run hitting contest is still viable? I don't want to see Aaron Judge in it. I really don't. I mean, he's been in it. He's won it. Why do it again? And too many guys have gone there and had terrible second halves. And whether it's related or not, I don't know. It could be a coincidence, but it happened to David Wright. It happened to Bobby Abreu. I think it happened to Josh Hamilton. Maybe you can speak to that, Alan. I think he had a great year that year, but I'm not sure. And he had put on one of the most remarkable exhibitions I'd ever seen in Yankee Stadium that night. We already got that. Well, yeah, I never, there have been times I watch it. I don't know. Family members and old coaches lobbing grapefruits as bombs that hurt spectators. You know what? I'm not so worried about the people in the stands because they're paying attention, but the kids that run around the outfield are the ones I worry about, Drew. Young kids. Yikes. But I don't disagree. I mean, it's another ticket they can sell something to the day before, right? Do we need all that? We went years without it. There's times I've enjoyed it, and there's times I've found it a colossal bore. And maybe it's just me, the mood I'm in. Alonso won it twice. Did he win it twice, really? I know he won it last year and put on a phenomenal performance. Now, again, I'm interested to see what his numbers were in the second half. Baseball's gotten to be a joke, though, too, in my mind, Rick. I mean, guys are mic'd up and they're out there, whatever. It's an exhibition for sure. It's not a real game. For years, it was the best All-Star game. I will agree with you. The NBA is unwatchable. The NFL is unwatchable. And I got to get out of here. Everything's unwatchable except the NL. Guys, I got to run. I didn't realize I was getting overtime here. And I'm not going to be able to share this show now. So have a great night. And we're going to have to put something else on, I think, at 12 o'clock today, guys. Have a great Sunday. See you later, guys. Enjoy. Keith Engel, TGI Sports Talk. I'm out of here.